I started whispering into a microphone because I couldn't sleep. It was kind of a joke at first. I'd read these weird scripts from Reddit, do slow tapping on glass jars, whisper stuff like, "You're safe here, everything is okay," all while sitting in my apartment's walk-in closet with a $20 mic clipped to a shoebox. Didn't think anyone would listen. But apparently, a lot of lonely people out there were into soft-voiced comfort. The comments started rolling in after my third upload. "You helped me through a panic attack. Listening to you feels like someone finally sees me." And then there was this one. "Your voice is the only thing that keeps me from losing it at night. I don't know who you are, but I need you." It stood out, not just because of what it said, but because the username was at Whisper Sinkhole. A weird name. Yeah, but they left a comment every single time, within minutes of my uploads. At first it was sweet, supportive, encouraging. But over time, the tone shifted. They started referencing things I hadn't mentioned in the videos. "I bet you're wearing that gray hoodie again. The one with the slightly frayed sleeve. Your voice sounded tense tonight. Long day? You're not really fine, are you?" The thing is, I was wearing the hoodie. And yeah, I'd had a crap day. But there was no way for them to know that. Right? I convinced myself it was just coincidence, or really good guessing, until they emailed me. At first, it looked like a normal fan message. Long, a little intense, but nothing threatening. Just someone pouring their heart out about how my videos were the only comfort in their life. How they listened to me on repeat. How they'd memorized the way I say safe at the 2:37 mark in one particular video. Then they signed off with this. "P.S. Saw you in the park last Thursday. You looked tired. I wanted to say hi, but I didn't want to scare you." I stared at the screen, stomach tight. I had gone to the park Thursday. I hadn't mentioned it anywhere. No tweets, no stories, nothing. I tried to tell myself it was just another coincidence, that maybe I'd posted something about it and forgotten. That's what I wanted to believe. But then I got another message. "You should lock your window when you record. The sound of the wind messes up your mic." I stopped sleeping that night. After that email, I started checking my apartment like I was living in a horror movie. Windows locked. Blinds closed. Mic unplugged. But even with the blinds down, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. I stopped doing live streams. I stuck to pre-recorded uploads and posted them at random times so nobody could guess my schedule. Still, at Whisper Sinkhole kept showing up in the comments. Right away. Every time. "You sound scared tonight," one comment read. "Don't be scared. I'd never hurt you." That last part didn't sound like reassurance. It sounded like a warning. I considered quitting the channel altogether. But the truth? I needed the money. Ad revenue, sponsorships, Patreon. This wasn't just a hobby anymore. It paid my rent. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a strange pull too. Part of me, some reckless, curious part, wanted to know who he was, why he was so fixated on me. Then one night, I got a new email. "I know you're nervous. Let me prove I'm real. Friday, 3 p.m. The cafe on Alder Street, corner table. I'll wait." I stared at the screen, my pulse hammering. There was no threat in the message, no demand, just a quiet certainty that I'd show up. And the scariest part was that a piece of me already knew I would. Friday came, and I nearly backed out a dozen times. I'd even typed out a draft to the police, but never hit send. What would I even say? "Hi, officer. A guy who listens to me whisper online is freaking me out." So instead, I went. The cafe was one of those minimal, wooden brass places with jazz humming softly over the speakers. I showed up early, sat at a table near the door, and tried to look normal while my stomach twisted itself into knots. At 3:05, a man walked in. Tall, late 20s, dark hair that curled a little at the ends. He wore a plain black hoodie and jeans. Nothing about him screamed, "Stalker." In fact, if I'd seen him anywhere else, I might have thought he was cute. He scanned the room, saw me, and smiled like we were old friends. "You came," he said quietly, sliding into the chair across from me. I didn't answer right away. It was surreal. The guy whose username had been haunting me for months was now sitting a foot away, breathing the same air. "I shouldn't be here," I muttered. He tilted his head. "But you are." I forced myself to meet his eyes. There was no malice there, just an intense focus, like I was the only person in the room. "I'm Alex," he said, offering his hand across the table. I'm not who you think." I didn't shake his hand. "You've been watching me." His mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. "I've been listening to you," he corrected softly. "There's a difference." I leaned back, my heart thudding. "You sent me that email about the park. About my window." "Yes," he said. No hesitation. "Because I needed you to know I wasn't just another faceless comment. I'm real. And I'm not trying to hurt you." He leaned forward, lowering his voice so only I could hear. "You don't understand. You saved my life, and now I think I can save yours." For a moment, the sounds of the cafe faded away. The clinking cups, the low jazz, all of it disappeared under the weight of his words. "What the hell does that mean?" I asked. Alex looked at me like he was trying to decide how much to say. Then he whispered, soft, almost like my own ASMR recordings. "They're not who you think they are either." I frowned. "Who?" But before he could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, face tightening, then stood up so abruptly his chair scraped the floor. "I have to go," he said. "Please don't upload anything tonight. Please." And then he was gone. I sat there, staring at the empty chair, heart hammering harder than it ever had while recording. This was no longer just about a fan. Something else was going on. I didn't upload that night. I told myself it was because I was rattled, that I needed to think. But truthfully, I was scared of Alex, of his cryptic warning, and of how easily I'd gone to meet a total stranger just because he said he needed me. I kept checking my email, half expecting another message from him, something explaining what he meant by, "They're not who you think they are." But there was nothing. No email. No new comment on my channel. Total silence. That should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like someone had pressed pause on the world and forgotten to hit play again. By midnight, I caved and did something I hadn't done since college. I started Googling myself. Not just my username. My real name. My email. Anything that might tell me what Alex knew. Nothing came up. My real name wasn't linked to the channel. I used a VPN. My P.O. box was in another city. I'd been careful. Hadn't I? Then I checked the private Discord server I ran for my Patreon supporters. It was invite-only, mostly regulars. Super kind, super chill fans who loved ambient noise and talking about what triggers gave them the most tingles. Except one user had recently changed their name. They used to be Quiet Dreamer, and now they were Sinkhole_92. I froze. I'd missed it. I clicked on their profile. They'd been in the server for months. Friendly, active, never creepy. And now, suddenly, they'd adopted Alex's username. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, unsure what to type. Before I could decide, a DM popped up. Sinkhole_92. "Hey, I'm sorry about today. I shouldn't have said it like that." I didn't respond. Just watched the typing indicator bounce. Sinkhole_92. "I know I came on strong. I didn't mean to scare you, but you need to know something about the platform, about the way your voice is being used." Now I was confused. Used? Me? What are you talking about? Sinkhole_92. "Check your channel analytics. Look at traffic sources from the last 60 days. I'll wait." He didn't say another word. Just stayed online, silent. So I did it. Opened my dashboard, clicked around until I found it. Nothing looked weird at first. YouTube search, external links, some spikes from Reddit. Normal stuff. But then I saw one I didn't recognize. Referral. Whispernet.cloud. I blinked. I'd never heard of that site. Clicked it. Error. Page not found. I tried it in a browser instead of the analytics link. It loaded. But it wasn't a public site. It was a directory, a mirror, of ASMR videos. Hundreds of them. Not just mine, but creators I followed. Big names. Small ones. Old, deleted videos. Private ones I knew had been taken down. And next to mine, tags. Not keywords. Commands. Sleep file. Looped breathing. Sexual tension. Medium. Obedience track. Active. I felt cold. These weren't fans watching my videos for tingles or comfort. Someone, or a group, was using our content for something else. Manipulative, maybe even illegal. My soft-spoken ramblings were being cataloged, filtered, repurposed. Used to simulate relationships, used to control people, and apparently, someone had noticed. I didn't sleep at all that night. I kept refreshing the WhisperNet page until my eyes blurred, half hoping it would disappear, half hoping it wouldn't. The whole thing felt unreal, like I'd stumbled into a secret I was never supposed to find. By 6 a.m., the sun was bleeding through my blinds and I was still in my chair, staring at the screen. The obedience track tags were burned into my brain. My own faceless videos, my voice, were being chopped up and turned into, what, hypnosis files? Fake boyfriends? Something worse? And then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Alex, please open your door. I'm outside. I jumped to my feet, heart slamming against my ribs. Every instinct screamed to call the police, but some other part of me, stupid, reckless, went to the door instead. I cracked it open. Alex was standing there, hoodie pulled up, hands shoved deep into his pockets. He looked different this time. Not intense. Not like the confident guy from the cafe. He looked scared. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. Against every better judgment, I stepped aside. He walked in, glancing around my apartment like he expected someone else to be there. His eyes landed on my laptop screen, the WhisperNet page. He let out a slow, shaky breath. "So you found it." "What the hell is this?" I demanded. "What are they doing with my videos?" Alex sat down at my kitchen table, rubbing his palms over his thighs. "It's not just your videos. It's everyone's." WhisperNet started as a scraper, a bot that downloaded every ASMR file it could find. But a year ago, it changed hands. Now it's what? He met my eyes, voice low. "Now it's a behavioral lab." I blinked. "A what?" "They're using ASMR creators to test emotional conditioning, microdoses of suggestion, attachments. It's like training a Pavlov's dog, but with people who are lonely and vulnerable." I stared at him. "And you're telling me this? Why? Who even are you?" "I used to work there." The room went very still. Alex's hands tightened into fists on the table. "I wrote some of the code that catalogs your files. I thought it was harmless. Scraping, archiving, building search tags. But then they started running experiments. Feeding people custom playlists, reward loops, hard triggers, dependency triggers." My stomach turned. "And you're telling me you're the good guy here?" His eyes flicked up to mine, and for the first time I saw something vulnerable in them. "I left. I couldn't do it anymore. But when I tried to warn people, they ignored me. You were the only creator I could get close to. The only one I thought might believe me." I leaned against the counter, trying to make sense of it. "So all those comments, the emails, showing up at the cafe, that was you being, what, noble?" His jaw tightened. "That was me trying to get your attention without setting off the system." "What system?" He gestured to my laptop. "They monitor creator communications. If you start talking about them, they flag you. They could deplatform you. Or worse." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "This is insane," Alex stood. "I can prove it. But you have to trust me. You can't upload tonight. And you can't open any messages from unknown accounts. Why? Because you're already on their watch list. A chill went down my spine. How do you know that? He took a small flash drive from his pocket and set it on the table. Because I saw your name in the dashboard before I left. They're running a trial on you right now. I stared at the flash drive. Alex's voice softened. I know I went about this the wrong way. I scared you, I'm sorry. But I'm trying to protect you. I swallowed, my throat dry. Protect me from what? His eyes darted to the window, like he was listening for something. Then he leaned closer, whispering, From yourself. The flash drive sat between us like it was radioactive, small, black, nothing remarkable. But somehow it felt like a line in the sand, the kind of thing you pick up and can never unknow. Alex didn't say anything else. Just watched me, his eyes unreadable. I reached out, slowly, and picked it up. It was cold against my palm. There's a laptop in my bedroom, I said quietly. Alex followed me. I slid the drive into the USB port, ignoring the tremble in my hands. A single folder popped up. Autonomy Red 3.1. Inside were audio files, logs, screen captures, and one text file labeled, Your Tracks. I clicked it. My stomach turned instantly. There were time-stamped logs of my uploads. All my uploads. Even the ones I'd removed months ago. Some had tags like baseline dependent or target emotionally attached. The latest entry was 2 days ago. Next to it, in red text, escalation triggered. Next phase, intervention. What the hell is this? I whispered. Alex leaned over my shoulder. That's their testing program. You've been flagged as a subject. They're watching how you react to certain triggers. Changes in tone, voice cadence, background noise. They want to see how far you'll go to keep your audience engaged, or how fast they can push you into burnout. I clicked on one of the screen captures. It showed my YouTube analytics dashboard, but not the one I had access to. This was something else, some kind of back-end monitor. It tracked things like eye movement, facial tics, whispering consistency, vocal fatigue. How do they even get this, I asked. I don't show my face. I use voice-only audio. Alex exhaled. They have access to your mic and browser camera when you edit directly in browser. The plugins you use, some of them are backdoors. I froze. My entire body went cold. Are you serious? He nodded. They're building profiles on creators. You're not just someone they're observing. You're one of their most valuable case studies. I had to sit down. My heart was racing, and I could feel the pressure building in my head like a storm. Alex crouched beside me. I know this is a lot, but you have to understand, you're not crazy. This is real. They're conditioning your audience through you. And if they push too hard, they'll drop you and move on. What happens to the people who burn out? I asked, barely recognizing my own voice. Alex looked at the floor. They get doxxed, or their channels get flooded with strikes. Some disappear. One guy had a breakdown live on stream, and they scrubbed the re-upload from the entire site within hours. I blinked, my mind spiraling. Why? Why do this? Because lonely people are easy to control, he said, and ASMR makes them vulnerable. If you control what soothes someone, you can control when they panic. And panic sells subscriptions, sleep aids, therapy bots, even AI boyfriends. It was too much. I closed the laptop, heart thudding in my ears. Alex placed a hand gently on mine. You don't have to decide anything now, but please, don't upload. Not until you've heard the rest. The rest? He nodded. There's someone else I need you to meet. Someone who got out, but didn't walk away clean. I looked at him, and I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about ASMR anymore. This was about control. And I wasn't the only one caught in it. I didn't upload that night. For the first time in over a year, I broke my streak. I sat on the couch with Alex, laptop closed, lights dimmed. The silence in my apartment so thick it felt like a scream. "I thought you said there was someone else," I finally asked. "Another creator?" Alex nodded, pulling out his phone. "Her name's Rowan. She was bigger than you, maybe twice your size at her peak. Full-face videos, sleep aid content, custom Patreon whispers. She had the whole thing down." "What happened to her?" "She vanished," he said. "No warning. All her content got pulled overnight. Her channel didn't just go dark. It got blacklisted. You can't even search her handle anymore. It's like she never existed." I felt the chill crawl up my spine again. "And you found her?" "Sort of." Alex swiped through a few texts before holding up his screen. A map, then an address. "She lives off the grid now, Montana, remote, no Wi-Fi, barely has power. She agreed to talk to you, but only in person. She doesn't trust anything digital." I stared at the screen. "That's a long way to go on a hunch." Alex leaned forward. "It's not a hunch. You need to hear what she went through. Because they're about to do the same thing to you." "What do you mean?" "They're almost done with you," he said flatly. "Your numbers are about to plateau. You'll get desperate. Try something bolder. Maybe a face reveal, a risky stream, a collab with someone bigger. That's when they test the final push." I swallowed hard. "Final push?" "They want to see if they can make you break." I was quiet for a long moment. Then I asked, "How do I even know you're telling the truth?" Alex didn't flinch. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a white envelope. Unmarked. He handed it to me. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. Some were of me, at the park, at the grocery store, even one of me recording through the apartment window, all taken from a distance, all blurred, grainy, clearly surveilled. And then, photos of others, creators I recognized, people who used to be big in the scene. One photo showed a woman in her 30s sitting on a bench, eyes vacant, earbuds in, mouth slightly open. Another showed a guy passed out at a desk, face pale, with a faint red light glowing from his phone screen. "What is this?" I asked, voice tight. "After burnout," Alex said, "they don't just stop listening to you. They keep using your voice, chopped up, filtered, altered. They feed it back to other users in their experiments. You become background noise in someone else's breakdown." I pressed the photos back into the envelope. "All right," I said, "let's go to Montana." 2 days later, we were in his car. He drove. I stared out the window, the hum of the road, the only sound between us. I hadn't touched my channel. My phone was on airplane mode. Everything felt disconnected, like I'd stepped out of my old life and into something colder. We stopped for gas in some nowhere town where the trees outnumbered the people. Alex didn't speak much, just drove like he knew exactly where he was going. Around sunset, we pulled off a winding road onto gravel, then dirt. The house was small, isolated, tucked into a clearing, surrounded by pine. Rowan was waiting on the porch. She looked nothing like her videos. Gone was the soft makeup, the candlelit glow, the gentle expression. Her hair was chopped unevenly. She wore no shoes. Her eyes were sharp. Tired. Wary. "You brought him?" she asked Alex, her voice lower than I remembered from her recordings. He nodded. "He's ready." Rowan looked at me. Hard. Then she gestured for me to come inside. No words, no handshake. Just, "Close the door. Don't say anything until the kettle's on." So I followed her in and closed the door behind me. And the second it shut, I felt it. Like I'd just stepped into a place that had been burned clean by something I hadn't learned how to name yet. The inside of Rowan's house was dim, sparse. The kind of quiet you don't get in cities, so quiet it hums in your ears. She boiled water on a tiny gas stove, pouring it into mismatched mugs. Herbal tea. No lights, no fridge buzz, no TV glow. Just the crackle of the kettle and the sound of my own breath. Alex sat by the door. I stayed standing. Rowan passed me a mug, then pointed to the rug in the middle of the room. "Sit," I sat. She didn't waste time. "They used me to build a new trigger series," she said. "Started off as an experiment. What would happen if you linked affirmations to anxiety relief, to sexual release, to fear?" She looked at me flat, dead-eyed. "They found out it works," I swallowed. "What do you mean, trigger series?" "They mapped user responses," she said. "Split us up. Different voices for different effects. Some of us became soothers. Some were inducers. Me? I was a conflict whisperer. They pushed my audience until they needed my voice to calm down after arguments, after panic, after..." She trailed off. "They made people emotionally dependent on you?" I asked. She nodded once. "I had guys who couldn't sleep without my 3 a.m. uploads. Girls who'd send voice messages begging me to whisper their names. It wasn't about connection. It was about control." I looked down at the tea, untouched in my hand. "Then, one night," she continued, "they changed the feedback loop. I uploaded like usual, but the back end redirected my viewers to a live stream, one I didn't record." "What?" "They used AI to mimic my voice. Took old audio, clipped it together. People thought it was me, thought I was doing some raw, unscripted breakdown. I got messages. 'Are you okay? You sound scared.'" I stared at her. "Why would they do that?" Rowan's mouth tightened. "Because fear sells. Vulnerability converts. They created a moment of crisis, then dropped my real video right after to soothe them. Viewership exploded. Donations spiked. I made $5,000 in an hour." She looked down. I almost felt grateful. "That was the worst part." Alex spoke for the first time. She didn't know until later. Until she checked the server logs. Rowan nodded slowly. "And when I found out, when I tried to call it out, my account got flagged. 3 strikes, then gone. Poof, no warning. My chest was tight. And no one helped? No one could. The people who run it don't exist. WhisperNet isn't a company. It's a shell, one layer of something bigger. Military-grade media testing? Maybe. Black market neurobehavioral labs? I don't know. But the second you try to blow the whistle, you're branded unstable." She stood abruptly and walked over to a metal box, pulled out a flash drive, thicker than Alex's, covered in tape. "This has a complete copy of the shadow server they built around your channel," she said, handing it to me. "Analytics, transcripts, trigger scores, listener response loops. You're not just being watched. You're being used to train something." "Train what?" Rowan's expression didn't change. "Replacement voices." The room tilted. I blinked. "Replacement?" "They're building models that sound like you. That are you. But cheaper. More obedient. More programmable. When you burn out, they'll keep your voice alive without you." She nodded toward Alex. "Ask him what happened to the last guy they replaced." Alex looked away. "His name was Jamie," Rowan said for him. "He found his AI version trending on Reddit. He tried to sue, never made it to court. Died of a fentanyl overdose 3 weeks later." Silence fell, thick and heavy. I stood up. "I want out," I said. Rowan shook her head. "There is no out. There's only exposure or silence." "I'll go public," I said. "Leak the files. Show everything." "They'll discredit you," Alex said. "They'll say you faked it, that you're trying to stir drama for views." Rowan walked to the window, staring out into the trees. "You don't fight this by going louder," she said. "You fight it by going quiet." I frowned. "What does that mean?" She turned back toward me. "It means your next upload needs to be bait." We spent 2 days at Rowan's cabin. No phone, No signal, just planning. The idea wasn't to expose them directly. Rowan said that never worked. The goal was to snare the system, to give it something too good, too irresistible, and tag it. Alex handled the tech. Rowan coached me on the delivery. The script we wrote was like any other. Soft-voiced, calming, carefully paced. But beneath the whispers, layered in frequencies and trigger points, we embedded markers, subtle tones, audio glitches, even key phrases in reverse reverb. To a normal listener, it would sound like nothing. To WhisperNet's system, it would be bait. The moment their bot scanned it, the code hidden in the file would map their tracker's pattern. And if we were right, we'd catch a live signal, not just a scrape, a connection. Back in my apartment, I booted up my old mic, sat in the closet. Just like when I started, Alex watched from the hallway, his phone linked to Rowan's laptop, ready to monitor back-end pings. I pressed record. Soft rain in the background, my breath slow. "Hey," I whispered, like always. "It's okay now. You're safe here. Just listen to the sound of my voice." I guided them through a grounding exercise, through their heartbeat, through their breath. At the 6-minute mark, I dropped in the first coded trigger. A shift in pitch, a breathy exhale timed to a 37 Hz low-frequency pulse. Alex's phone buzzed. Ping, they'd accessed it. I kept going. At 8:23, I inserted a whisper loop of the phrase, "You're listening too closely," backwards and buried in binaural hiss. Ping, ping, ping. Alex held up a finger. One more hit, and we'd get the source. I leaned into the mic, dropped my voice an octave. "If you're hearing this," I whispered, "you're not in control anymore." The waveform spiked. Alex's phone lit up. Gotcha. He hit a key. We weren't just being watched anymore. We were watching them. We traced the IP to a data center outside Atlanta. A rental unit. Masked. But the signal stayed active long enough for us to hijack one of their logs. Inside it, a list of targets, names, dates, tags, triggers, labels like, quote, susceptible, compliant, obsessive, and then something worse. Transitional replacements, in progress. Beside my name, clone version 1.3, soft launch scheduled, 48 HRs. They were already testing a voice that wasn't me. Alex copied everything. Rowan routed it through proxies and leaked the logs anonymously to whistleblower forums, independent tech watchdogs, audio ethics blogs. Within 12 hours, the data went viral. #Asmergate was trending by morning. The aftermath wasn't clean. YouTube never acknowledged the breach directly, but WhisperNet disappeared from my analytics forever. A few creators came forward. Most didn't. Rowan still lives off-grid. Alex moved back to Portland and got into acoustic forensics, tracking deepfake voices and training others to spot synthetic uploads. And me. I still make videos. But now I show my face, I say my name, and when I whisper for me. Not for the system, not for their triggers, not for the numbers. Just for the ones listening. Not watching. Still wondering if they're alone. Still needing someone to say, "It's okay, I'm here," because now I am.